Hello. As Speaker of the House, it is my privilege to welcome you all to this celebration of courage and patriotism 75 years to the day since the USS Indianapolis met its fate while sailing through the Philippine Sea toward the end of World War II. Today, despite the unprecedented circumstances, we come together as the United States Congress bestows its highest honor, the Congressional Gold Medal, on the crewmen of the USS Indianapolis. Thank you to the entire Indiana delegation, Indiana Governor Eric Holcomb and Secretary of the Navy Kenneth Braithwaite, and Brigadier General Goodwin for your efforts to make this momentous event possible. Thank you as well to Leader Mitch McConnell, Leader Chuck Schumer, and Leader Kevin McCarthy for helping to ensure that this virtual ceremony would be such a wonderful success. And thank you to Honorary Captain Tody and all those joining online to recognize and pay tribute to the American heroes of the USS Indianapolis. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, please stand as you are able for the presentation of the colors and the national anthem.
Ready, set, on!
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Colors, right shoulder, arm. Colors turn, arm.
Let us pray. Dear Lord, we ask your blessing today on the survivors of the USS Indianapolis, their family members, friends, and members of the Legacy organization at this virtual reunion. Ever since the first reunion on July 30th and 31st of 1960, which was organized by Giles McCoy and 15 survivors, these men have gathered to remember and to give thanks. They know the importance of reflecting on the sacrifices of the men who were lost at sea and the lifelong hardships of the men who survived and continue to grieve for their shipmates. They cherish their memories. Over the years, the survivors and their families have built tremendous bonds of friendship and mutual support. The men who sailed on the USS Indianapolis, one of only 2 Portland-class heavy cruisers, were awarded 10 battle stars for their bravery, and their final mission played a vital role in ending the war. Lord, we are blessed to be able to honor the survivors who are still living. Continue to bless them and their families and all the friends and supporters who keep alive the memories of the brave men of the USS Indianapolis. We ask all of this in your holy name. Amen.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Sam Cox, the Director of the Naval History and Heritage Command. Today we commemorate the valor and sacrifice of the 1,195 sailors who served aboard the Indianapolis when she was torpedoed and sunk by a Japanese submarine I-58 in the last days of the war on 30 July 1945. Only 316 of her crew survived the 12 minutes that it took the ship to sink and the horrific 4 days adrift in the open ocean afterwards. It's also important to note that the crew of the Indianapolis were heroes long before she was hit by Japanese torpedoes. The ship served in 10 major battles throughout the Pacific War, from the first U.S. Navy's offensive actions in New Guinea in the hot tropics to the frigid waters of the Aleutians. And during most of the war, she served as a flagship for Admiral Raymond Spruance, who led the U.S. Navy's offensive across the Central Pacific from the Gilbert Islands, the Marshalls, the Marianas, the Carolines, through Iwo Jima and on to Okinawa, frequently bombarding enemy positions ashore in support of U.S. Marines. She shot down 9 enemy aircraft before, at Okinawa, she was finally hit and badly damaged by a Japanese kamikaze suicide plane. Following her repairs, she was given the critical top secret mission of taking key components of the first atomic bomb from the United States to the B-29 bomber base on Tinian Island, and she did so in record time. Only a few days later, she had her encounter with I-58 in the middle of nowhere in the middle of the night. There were numerous lessons learned from this tragedy that have been incorporated into operational procedures of the U.S. Navy even today. And if there's a lesson from the survivors, it's never, ever give up. Thank you.
On behalf of every sailor, Marine, and civilian in the Department of the Navy serving today, I send our sincere thanks and appreciation to the brave veterans of USS Indianapolis and to your families for your record of service and sacrifice. From Pearl Harbor to the final days of World War II, you and your shipmates, as part of our greatest generation, completed mission after mission, taking the fight to the enemy and changing the course of history. In the waning days of the war, you didn't stop when a kamikaze struck your ship. You made it safely back to port and returned quickly to sea to carry out one of the greatest missions of World War II. You didn't know the cargo you carried from San Francisco to the Marianas Islands in July of 1945 would change the course of the war. You just knew it had to make it through dangerous waters. So you set speed records, kept the watch, braved the contested waters, and delivered the atomic bomb. If it wasn't for you and your shipmates, history may have turned out very differently. We, all Americans, owe you a forever debt of gratitude. We must always hold close to our hearts those who died when your storied ship was torpedoed on your return, and those who perished over the horrific 4 days that followed, one of the darkest chapters in our naval history. We can never forget the astounding gift and bravery shown by those who lived to tell the tale. And we can never relinquish the important lessons our Navy learned from that tragedy. Each of you added significantly to the remarkable story of our Navy, to our traditions, and to our ethos of service above self. And your service, your sacrifice, embodied the core tenets of our Navy: honor, courage, and commitment. So to you, the crew of USS Indianapolis, we, the Navy, salute you out of respect and admiration, and we thank you for your service to make us stand a little taller, a little prouder for all you did. Bravo Zulu, shipmates, and may God bless you and your families always.
It's my great honor on this 75th anniversary to salute the crew of the USS Indianapolis and recognize your valiant service. You and your shipmates answered the call at a critical time in the life of our nation, indeed the world. And your courage and devotion to duty in the face of danger preserved freedom, both here on the homeland and around the globe. Your bravery set an enduring example and influenced generations of service members. As a Navy man, I could not be more proud that the legacy of the USS Indianapolis, your legacy, is carried forward today by a magnificent ship that sails under the same stars and stripes and proudly bears the same name, and by its crew who now follow in your footsteps. You're heroes in every sense of the word, and totally deserving recipients of this Congressional Gold Medal. So on behalf of 6.7 million Hoosiers, thank you to you and your families for your service and your lifetime of sacrifice.
Thanks to all of you who are here to honor our heroes. I'm Joe Donnelly, the former senator from Indianapolis, and I am so proud to have been the sponsor of this legislation along with my colleagues so that the crew of the USS Indianapolis would get this long-deserving Congressional Gold Medal. Our ship, the heavy cruiser USS Indianapolis, is the stuff of legend. It was host to President Roosevelt. It was the recipient of 10 battle stars. Yes, that's right, 10 battle stars for its service in World War II. And it was the ship chosen for the secret mission that helped end World War II. But the heart of the Indy and the heart of this Congressional Gold Medal are the men who served on her. They were skippered by Captain McVeigh, and they fought to defend our country, put their lives on the line. They never gave up against incredible odds, and they showed incredible grit and determination and patriotism. Those of us who are from Indiana and Indianapolis are incredibly proud that the crew and the ship carried the name of our capital city into battle with such amazing success and determination. The name USS Indianapolis is still today sailing the seas and serves our nation. And that crew's goal that is on the seas every day today is to try to live up to the example and the determination and the legend that was set by heavy cruiser Indianapolis and the crew. To our crew, thank you from a grateful nation for your courage, for your service, for your bravery while fighting to defend the United States. This gold medal is well deserved, and it only scratches the surface of how much we love you, care about you, and are grateful for your amazing service to our country. May God bless the crew of the USS Indianapolis. May God bless the state of Indiana and the city of Indianapolis. And may God bless the United States of America.
The USS Indianapolis, named after the state capital of Indiana, and her crew showed courage and fortitude beyond measure in service to our nation and to the cause of freedom and liberty. Commissioned in 1932, the USS Indianapolis was active in the Pacific theater of World War II and saw action in many of the major battles fought in the Pacific. She and her crew played an important role in helping secure victory over Japan. Unbeknownst to the crew, the cargo contained on the ship, enriched uranium and parts for the device known as Little Boy, would bring Japan to surrender and save the lives of countless American soldiers. Sadly, shortly after making its delivery, the USS Indianapolis was hit and sunk by a Japanese torpedo on July 30th, 1945. About 300 men were trapped inside the ship and lost their lives when the ship went down. 900 men escaped from the ship and went into the water, where hundreds died over the next 4 days before help arrived. Of the 1,196 men who served aboard the USS Indianapolis, only 316 survived the sinking. The stories relayed by the surviving sailors tell a tale of fear and desperation, but also of heroism and brotherhood. I'm honored to be part of the ceremony awarding the entire crew of the USS Indianapolis the Congressional Gold Medal and recognizing the sacrifice they made to ensure our freedom.
Hello, hello, hello. This is Congressman Andre Carson. I am extremely pleased to take part in today's ceremony honoring the veterans of the USS Indianapolis and their families. I also want to thank our congressional leaders, Representative Visclosky, and my other fellow Hoosier members of Congress, Governor Holcomb, Secretary Braithwaite, and General Goodwin, and everyone who has helped make this ceremony so special. 75 years after the tragic sinking of the USS Indianapolis, the values displayed by the brave Americans on board continue to guide us. In these very tough times, they are more important than ever. We are eternally grateful to the people on this ship, and we can never fully repay the debt we owe them. They endured unspeakable hardship and tragedy, all in the name of service to our country and in the defense of freedom. We honor the hundreds who died, as well as their loved ones who still grieve this day. And we thank the survivors, particularly those who are still with us, who have spent their lives making sure we never forgot the heroism displayed that day. It is my hope that this Congressional Gold Medal helps future generations of Americans also remember the sacrifices of the greatest generation. In the meantime, we still have more work ahead of us to properly honor them by ensuring the freedoms they fought for are protected. So let's come together as Americans to continue this important journey toward justice for all. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Senator Todd Young. As a Marine, I want to extend my sincerest gratitude to the crew of the USS Indianapolis. Surviving one of the most harrowing attacks in naval history, what you experienced in the Pacific waters in 1945 must never be forgotten. You and your shipmates were on a mission to save the world, and you helped put an end to the unspeakable evil of World War II. In honor of your bravery, I worked with former Senator Joe Donnelly to pass legislation granting the Congressional Gold Medal to the crew aboard the USS Indianapolis. This is the highest civilian honor bestowed by the United States Congress. And today, it's an honor to finally be able to help present this medal in honor of your service and sacrifice to our great nation. On behalf of Hoosiers and all Americans, I say thank you. Your bravery and courage continues to inspire, and I wish you all fair winds and following seas. God bless.
It is my privilege to join my colleagues from the House and Senate to present the sailors of the USS Indianapolis the Congressional Gold Medal. In July of 1945, after delivering in secret the key ingredients of the atomic bomb, the 1,200 sailors of the Indianapolis embarked on the 1,300-mile voyage from Guam to Leyte Gulf alone, without escort of anti-submarine vessels. In the early hours of July 30th, the Indianapolis was sunk by a Japanese submarine. In 12 minutes, 300 sailors went down with the ship. The remaining 900 were stranded at sea for 4 days without water or food, suffering from dehydration, exposure, saltwater poisoning, and shark attacks before the Navy found them. By the time the rescue came, only 316 of the 1,200 had survived. It was the single greatest loss of life from one ship in U.S. naval history, and one of the most tragic maritime disasters in world history. So today we present the Congressional Gold Medal to the 8 surviving crew members of the Indianapolis, but it's a tribute intended for all 1,200 sailors. The final tragic hours of the Indianapolis in no way diminish the sacrifice made by those 900 men and boys 75 years ago, half a world away. As we say thank you, a grateful nation pledges to never forget what happened to the USS Indianapolis and to always remember the American patriots who were lost in that terrible attack. I wish we could observe this moment together in person to say thank you and to remember our fallen sailors in person. But wherever you all may be, I offer you, the sailors and family members of all the crew members, my greatest measure of thanks. May you all be safe and healthy, and God bless you and all your loved ones.
Those present at the commissioning of the USS Indianapolis in November 1932 knew they were looking at a mighty ship, but they had no idea it would carry a war-ending superweapon across the Pacific. A decade later, the men lining up at recruiting stations knew the Navy would take courage and perseverance, but even they could not have imagined how that would unfold on July 30th, 1945. Throughout the Second World War, America's sons made many names into permanent synonyms for bravery: Pointe du Hoc, Mount Suribachi, and the Ardennes Forest. But the crew of the Indianapolis remained in a certain class of their own. Already, their ship had served as Admiral Spruance's flagship and earned 10 battle stars in hard-fought engagements all across the Pacific theater. Already, her crew had secretly put gears in motion to end the war. But their fight didn't end with the worst of the enemy. They also had to face the worst of Mother Nature. In an instant, her crew went from fighting the battles without to fighting the battles within. They fought to stay alert, to look after each other, literally to hold on for dear life. Our nation lost hundreds of heroes in those harrowing days. Just last month, we lost one more, Tony King. Those who perished in the water gave our nation the ultimate sacrifice. Those who survived shared their wisdom and example with us for decades more. But the true legacy of the Indianapolis was secure before those torpedoes struck. Her crew turned the tide of the war. So to her crewmen who are still keeping watch, who have joined us today, your Congress and your nation say thank you.
75 years ago, in the final months of World War II, the crew of the USS Indianapolis departed San Francisco's Hunters Point Naval Shipyard on a top-secret mission. Their record-setting voyage to Tinian Island changed the course of history and enabled the United States to finally bring an end to years of brutal conflict. For their indispensable contributions to the advancement of freedom and democracy, the USS Indianapolis's 1,195 crewmen are worthy of our greatest esteem. It is important to acknowledge the further tragedy that followed the sinking of the USS Indianapolis in the early morning hours of July 30th, 1945. That harrowing 5-night and 4-day ordeal stole the lives of 879 brave sailors and cemented the USS Indianapolis and its crew forever in the hearts of the American people. 316 men returned home and dedicated their lives to ensuring that the memory of their fallen comrades who made the ultimate sacrifice would continue to be honored. Sadly, last month we lost a cherished member of the USS Indianapolis veterans community and a constituent of mine from San Francisco, A.C. Tony King. We all mourn with his family at this sad time and wish he were with us to see this historic day. Today, just 8 USS Indianapolis veterans remain, but their commitment to telling their extraordinary story continues to motivate countless Americans to answer the call of service and to continue fighting to preserve the blessings of liberty and freedom. Bestowing on them the Congressional Gold Medal enables them to now take their rightful place in the pantheon of American heroes, whose exceptional valor and service have immeasurably strengthened our nation. In accepting this award, the men of the USS Indianapolis bring luster to it, as their service brings luster to the United States of America. On behalf of the United States Congress and a grateful nation, I'm pleased to present this Congressional Gold Medal to the crew of the USS Indianapolis in recognition of their perseverance, bravery, and service. Now, this gold medal will be proudly displayed at the Indiana War Museum, where it will continue to educate and inspire generations of patriotic Americans. Thank you.
"75 years ago, the Indianapolis plunged into the depths of the Pacific Ocean when it was struck by 2 Japanese torpedoes. That sinking is not what thrust the Indianapolis into the annals of history. What we're memorialized here today is the accomplishments of the crew, not the fact that they were sunk. The survivors of the sinking of Indianapolis struggled for almost 5 days in the water just to survive. Then for the next 5 decades, they continued to fight. They did not fight for recognition for themselves. They did not fight for restitution from the Navy for the awful fact that they were forgotten in the water and left to die. They fought to clear their captain's name. Today, the surviving crew members of the Indianapolis have asked me to speak on their behalf. They pulled me into their fight in 1998 while I was still captain of the nuclear fast attack submarine, USS Indianapolis, and I was proud to join them in their fight to exonerate their captain. Over the years, I have come to know and admire nearly 200 of the survivors like Sergeant Harrell. But today, as I speak these words, only 8 survivors remain. They fought for over 55 years to get the Navy to do the right thing for their captain. But in the end, it was an act of Congress that exonerated him. In May 2001, I was proud to enter Congress's exoneration language into Captain McVeigh's service record. That year, I was equally proud to help present the Navy Unit Commendation to the crew of the Indianapolis. It took over 55 years for the Navy to officially acknowledge the ship's accomplishments, but it got done. And today, it is Congress again that makes things right by honoring a crew that has done so much for this country. This Congressional Gold Medal does not recognize only the survivors. It recognizes all of Indy's crew members, both survivors and lost at sea. It recognizes a fighting ship's crew, one that helped end the most terrible war this world has ever known. It recognizes among the best that the United States Navy has to offer. This honor was not sought by them. They did not ask Congress to receive this recognition. It comes completely unexpected. But as for the rest of us, we know that it comes completely deserved. Not one crew member of the Indianapolis, not one, would ever describe themselves as a hero. But they would all say that they served in a crew of heroes. On behalf of the entire crew of USS Indianapolis, survivors lost at sea and family members, I would like to thank Congress of the United States for this great honor. I know how grateful they are, living and dead, and I must convey that gratitude on their behalf. Thank you, and God bless.
Hello, my name is Stuart Goodwin, Brigadier General, United States Air Force, retired, and the Executive Director of the Indiana War Memorials Commission. We manage 25 acres of properties in downtown Indianapolis that honor military service members with emphasis on Hoosier veterans. Included in these properties is the USS Indianapolis CA-35 Museum, which will be the location of the Congressional Gold Medal. The story behind the presentation of this national award is one of this country's most historic military missions, yet the crew and families of this highly decorated combat World War II U.S. naval vessel have never received the recognition they deserve. That is why this presentation represents the gratitude from our nation to all those who were touched by this amazing story. The sinking of the heavy cruiser USS Indianapolis inflicted numerous actions that included instant death, life-threatening burns, broken bones, emotional distress, and the crew enduring 4.5 days of strong seas and shark attacks, with no food or water, with doubt they would ever be rescued. Many of the survivors have said it was their faith in God that pulled them through this horrific ordeal. We think most of us would agree that there are no words that can adequately express to those who survived, were lost at sea, and their families the respect and heartfelt gratitude for what they endured so we can live free. However, there is something we can do, and we're doing it with this presentation. We can take every opportunity available to tell their story, thank all of those involved, and pray for their souls. This national recognition presented to them will provide countless opportunities to educate future generations about these warriors. We want to take this opportunity to thank Speaker Pelosi, the U.S. House of Representatives, the Indiana House delegation, and the U.S. Mint for making this award possible. Additionally, we would like to thank the USS Indianapolis Survivors Organization for their decades of support to the crew and their families, and the recently organized Indianapolis Legacy Organization, whose mission is to promote and perpetuate the memory of all who served the USS Indianapolis. Also, thanks to the Indiana War Memorials Commission staff who researched, designed, built, and maintains the USS Indianapolis Museum. We also want to invite you to visit the Indiana War Memorial Museum in Indianapolis to view this distinguished Congressional Gold Medal in the USS Indianapolis Museum exhibit, where approximately 100,000 visitors will observe it annually. We hope to see you soon. Thank you.